I'm a big fan of the blue ocean strategy, and I think it applies to any business that you want to get into. Let's say you're creating content. How is your content going to be different from all the other content that's out there? Let's say you're in insurance. How are you going to compete with the other insurance companies? Let's say you have a pet shop. Why is yours going to be better than Petco or PetSmart down the street? It doesn't matter. Whatever you do, you need to find an edge. You need to find a unique selling proposition that sets you aside from all the other people that are already doing this.
Welcome to another episode of the seven figure business owner. I can't even remember the name of the podcast anymore. Alejandro, you should be helping me out. Um, Welcome to the podcast today. That's funny that could do that to me. I'm David Gilliland, one of your hosts. We're just delighted to talk with Alejandro Russo. He's calling in from Florida today. Alejandro, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Dave. It's a pleasure having me here. And if you want, we could swap places.
I love
I'll do
it.
the podcast today. You can run the rum business.
Let's do this, right?
Let's see. Let's see how it goes. Who knows?
Yeah, this could be the experiment that takes us to the next level. Uh, we we're delighted to talk. As always, we just love talking with entrepreneurs. We are entrepreneurs ourselves. This whole community is all a bunch of seven-figure business owners, and we've got some battle wounds, and we've got some fun stories, and we have some things we've learned. And let's start with a story. Alejandro, how did you get into this business in the first place?
Uh, I that's a great question, and hopefully it's a fun story. But I'm the owner of Candela Mama Juana. We're one of the leading rum brands coming out of the Dominican Republic, and what's funny is that I didn't come from a liquor family. I didn't inherit a big liquor distillery or a famous brand or anything like that. I started it from scratch. And not coming from the industry, it's very unusual how I came across it because a lot of people that start brands, they either worked at a big distributor or they worked at another brand. I was a tourist in the Dominican Republic. Okay. I was swimming in the swim up bar of my resort, coming off of a tech business that I used to have. And I was at the pool and I started making friends at the swim up bar. You know that when you're on vacation, everybody's relaxed, everybody's having a good time. You make friends with anybody, you just ask, hey, where are you from? And that's all you need to know to become someone's friend. So we were all having drinks, and I realized that everybody was having a drink called Mama Juana. And I never had it before. I had never even heard of it before. But when you go to the Dominican Republic and you sit in front of the bar, it's the first thing the bartender will offer you. So we're there, we're taking shots of Mama Juana with all my new friends. And that day ended up being one of the funnest, craziest days of my life. um, you know, we, it, I can't go too much. We want to keep it safe for work, but I just want to say that I had an amazing experience, and it became my drink of choice during that entire vacation. So when the trip was done, I go to my favorite bartender and I ask him, "Hey, I'd love to buy a bottle, bring it back home with me." And he said, "Okay." And he opens up his backpack and gives me a bag of all these sticks. I said, "No, no, no, maybe you misunderstood me. I don't want to buy weed from you. I want the bottle, the booze that you gave me. That's what I want to buy." He says, like, "Yeah, like this is it. These are the spices, the botanicals. You just have to add rum to it. You let it infuse for a few months, and that's what you were drinking." And I said, "Wow, you're telling me that millions of people, millions of American tourists are drinking this every single year, but there's no ready to drink version?" So I couldn't believe it. So I started looking into it a little bit more, and it's true. I mean, it's a recipe that was around for over 200 years, but it was only handmade. Nobody had ever made it so that you could sell it on the liquor shelf like any other liquor. So that's what inspired me to start the brand.
You had you had a good hangover kind of visit that helped you to find the thing you wanted.
Exactly. It's what I call basically a drunk epiphany.
That's where you come home and you say thank you, drunk self. So
Exactly.
when you were looking at and the pulling outside of the the particular item, but just in general, you were out experiencing life. You found something. You're like, wow, I like this. Other people like this, and then you realized no one's made a business from this. This is just our local greeting, the way we do it here. And then you're now taking it far beyond the Dominican Republic and distributing that out to others. Uh,
That's right. And
yeah,
it's
I think
sometimes you
there's so
need
much opportunity
sometimes
in
you need
that
an
in so many
outsider's
areas of
perspective
life, right? And that's
to
what entrepreneurs do.
realize. Oh, sorry, I lost you for a second. But I was saying sometimes you need an outsider's perspective to realize the value that you have. And because Dominicans have been drinking this all their life, so they're used to it. They're not thinking about it. But for an American to come in and like, I really love this, and I want, there are thousands of other Americans that would love to have this too. So you see the need where they don't see it, and it's kind of like, I remember the first time, I was in Brazil at the beach, and we were all eating acai bowls at the beach. I said,
Hmm.
man, this is great, how come nobody's brought this over? And somebody else had that idea, said, yep, acai, it can be a thing in the United States, and they brought it over, and now obviously it's everywhere. But it's sometimes you
Yeah.
need to have
There's
that
another thing
outside
from Brazil
perspective.
that's got to get everywhere. Someday they need creme de. Oh, I thought you had stopped, but we must have a little bit of lag, so I apologize there, Alejandro.
No worries.
Yeah, yeah. The idea is we see them in one place, then we recognize the value, we take it other places, and we can do that in lots of areas. That's the fun thing about being an entrepreneur. We start like that. That
And entrepreneurs, we can never turn our minds off. At least it happens to me, right? I'm on vacation, and then I'm spotting opportunities. I'm saying, "Oh, these guys are drinking this. I wonder if it's available here. I wonder what the margins are. I wonder what the market is." And I think it's something that all of us small business owners share, is that once you get started with the business mindset, you can't turn it off. Even if you're on vacation, you just can't turn it off.
that's fair. Hey, now that you've passed the $1 million mark and you've continued to move and grow and do other things there, what are some nuggets? What are some insights that really helped you continue to expand and to grow your business?
That's a great question, and I think it has a lot to do with how you start. I'm a big fan of the blue ocean strategy, and I think it applies to any business that you want to get into. Let's say you're creating content. How is your content gonna be different from all the other content that's out there? Let's say you're in insurance. How are you gonna compete with the other insurance companies? Let's say you have a pet shop. Why is yours gonna be better than Petco or PetSmart down the street? It doesn't matter. Whatever you do, you need to find an edge. You need to find a unique selling proposition that sets you aside from all the other people that are already doing this. So I'm a big fan of the blue ocean strategy, and that's what I applied when I started Candela. I said, okay, the liquor shelf is full of great rum brands. How am I going to compete? How is my going to be different? And that's what I realized. That's when I realized that I had an opportunity, because I'm bringing this Mama Juana rum, which is, the national drink of the Dominican Republic, and it's a great spiced rum, but nobody had ever sold that specific recipe or variation in the United States or anywhere else before. So it's a little niche. It's obviously way smaller than the white rum and gold rum business, right? But it's a little corner of the business of the industry that we can own. And within this industry, we dominate. We don't have any competitor that comes even close. We're by far the best in terms of quality. We're the biggest in terms of volume. We're the one that's doing it best. So it's finding that little corner of the industry, whatever it is that you want to do, and really being the best at that. So I'm a big believer in the blue ocean strategy. Find your own ocean where you're not competing with everybody else, but you're swimming by yourself, and creating your own your own lane, right? The opposite of that is the Red River, which is a small pool of water full of blood from all the competition. So the blue ocean is a way better place where you can uh, put your own path and sail away into the sunset, right? The other thing that I always like to apply is to fall in love with your consumer, not with your product. And I think it's something that a lot of people really start doing once they see an opportunity, they start working on their business, and then it's all about the product. They need to get the product better. but product is a reflection of your ego. It's not about how good your product is. Your product is good as long as it services the market that consumes it. So, and I always see this. A lot of times people will start a product and they'll put all these bells and whistles and make it better, premiumize it, all these things. But maybe the market that's consuming it, they don't want that. Maybe they just want it faster, or they want it cheaper, or they want it reliable. So understand what's the value proposition that's really gonna connect with your consumer, and do that amazingly well, right? And that's something that I always try to tell my friends, that are always starting their CPG businesses or beverage businesses. I say, look, you have an idea, but find out the market that's going to consume this. What is it that they want? And then make it for them and fall in love with them. When you fall in love with them and you make sure that you're really catering to their needs and solving their pain point, then everything else will fall into place on its own. Dave, when I sat down in front of the first hotel that we ever sold our product to, massive resort in the Dominican Republic, I sit in front of the food and beverage director and I say, hey, look, we have a Mama Juana that is ready to drink. You don't have to make it yourself. And he goes, oh my God, I've been looking for this. This is the best. You solved my life, because these are hotels that have 20 F&B outlets, 30 F&B outlets. Every bar used to make their own Mama Juana by hand. I mean, imagine the mess. Imagine the logistical nightmare. So when I came, I said, here it is, bottled, ready to drink, FDA compliant, TTB approved. I solved a massive, massive pain point. So I did it for him. And if my product is priced out of what he needs to buy it for, it's no use. So fall in love with your customer, and not fall in love with your product.
Yeah, I love that. And especially because falling in love with your customer led you to your next business, which is projected to be even bigger this next year than your original business, right? So your customer became these hotels, these resorts, one of your customers that you were talking to, and you saw there were other pains, other things they weren't getting, they weren't able to access, that tourists were accustomed to all over the world and they didn't have in the DR.
Absolutely. It's such a good point, because when you fall in love with your customer, you start opening up your ears and eyes to their needs, and when you're in that mindset, how can how can I help them and fulfill their needs and provide value to them? That's when opportunities start opening up. So, first we had a distributing license that was just for our product, again because we needed to be price competitive enough so that the hotel would buy it. And
Couldn't go through a distributor.
exactly. And we couldn't, because you would just do the value chain analysis. The margin just wasn't there. It was either going to go to a distributor or it had to go to us. So I set up my own distributing company in the Dominican Republic, and we were able to match the pricing that the hotels needed. Great. So we're selling product to the hotels. They're ordering, industrial quantities of this stuff. That's amazing. But then they say, hey, Alejandro, we love working with you guys. Do you have a tequila that we can use? Because the ones that we usually buy, it's out of stock or it's priced out. Do you have a bourbon? Do you have a? And then they started asking us for all these different things. And I said, okay, I guess we can supply our existing customers with great product. And as long as we're able to service them in the same way that we service them with the current product that we have, they're going to buy from us. They're going to be happy. So that's how I started my second business, which is the distributing company called Koi Dominicana. And we started by just distributing our own product. And now we have a portfolio. I think we're going to be closing the year with about 12 great brands, all worldwide renowned brands that are looking to enter the Dominican Republic. That the hotels and my big retail chains, they're all looking to buy, but nobody had ever brought it into the country. So again, just servicing their need. They tell us what they want, and then we come in and bring it in, and we offer them, great terms. We deliver quickly. We're reliable. We answer the phones and respond to their messages in less than 20 minutes. Our WhatsApp is always available for any question that they have. We're available Saturdays, Sundays. So we behave very differently from the big distributors that they're used to working with.
Yeah, yeah. The especially in the like developing countries, right? Like they just don't get that.
Exactly. And we need to understand about a developing country. The Dominican Republic is, the biggest country, biggest market in the Caribbean. And even though it's a developing country, there are hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars of hotels being developed there that are worldwide hotels. So they have worldwide standards.
Yes.
So if they can't buy the milk that they want, or the pistachios that they want, or the tequila that they need that has certain quality standards, they're gonna be looking for it elsewhere. So if you are the one that comes to them and says, "Hey, I can get you this product that you need, that has the certifications that you need, that has the quality that you need," they'll be incredibly grateful to be doing business with you.
That's great. Thanks again for sharing those insights. Again, look for a place that others aren't playing in as much. Do it differently than the rest, but not just differently, in the way that your customer most needs. Right. The question always is, whom do we serve, and what is it they most need to accomplish? And if we don't know that, and that changes from
Mm,
day to day. Like you've got to stay on top of that. If we don't know that, then our business is going to be just like everyone else's, right? Just picking up the scraps instead of forging a new path.
absolutely.
Well, now that you're this size, what are some of the challenges you're facing? I mean, you are in growth mode. I mean, this distribution piece is going to really blow up because they're going to need it a lot. And you'll probably start looking beyond the Dominican Republic in some of those areas for the brands and things, the hotels and the resorts that you support that are in other countries that you could figure out too. I don't know. But what are the challenges you're looking towards or facing
That's
now?
a great question, and it's true. I mean, the business, you know, you start being presented with great opportunities that let you naturally grow it, and in places that you don't even recognize. Some of the same chains that buy from us in the Dominican Republic, they have a massive presence in Mexico or Jamaica, and they're asking us for the same products that they find in the Dominican Republic in those hotels too, because they're not able to find them there. So it's a great lesson to learn when you start putting that filter is, okay, how can I service them, and not say, no, my business is, I just do this, and then corner yourself. You have to be open to opportunities. But the biggest challenge is, and what isn't the biggest challenge? Everything is a challenge, right? If you're a business owner, you know
Yep.
what I mean. You get up in the morning and everything is difficult. That's why, first off, I just want to say massive props and congrats to all the business owners out there that are able to get their business surviving past year one, year two, year three, year four. If you've gone past year four, year five, I mean, you are truly, you deserve, round of applause. You're in the top 5% of all business owners, and it's difficult. Being a business owner is incredibly difficult, um, and there's always challenges. I have business owners, my friends of mine that are billionaires, and you think that they're all good. They have different types of problems. They still have a bunch of problems. I find friends of mine that are finishing college and they want to start their first business and they're bootstrapping it, putting up their first $3,000 to start it, and they have a mountain of problems as well. So what's interesting is that there are always challenges, there are always problems. They just change through time. So the ones that I have right now, I guess, are mostly, I'm in that place where my business is really going from a medium business. Hopefully it'll start becoming a bigger business, and then you have to take a step back. And something that I always struggle with is learning to work on your business rather than in your business. There's a great book called The E Myth, which the Entrepreneur Myth, which they always go through this, and I struggle with that myself because in the day to day happens, all these little things happen, all the operational things happen, and you start being first knees deep, then shoulder deep, then head deep in your business, trying to solve all these fires. But you need to take a step back and look at your business as the product and say, okay, pause for a second. Let me get some perspective. If I look at my business as the product, how can I improve that? What needs to be improved? How can my team be configured differently? What are the biggest threats, the biggest opportunities? So that is something that I'm struggling with right now, is finding the time to take a step back and look at my business as the product and have more of a strategic point of view. The second thing is finding the great people that make up the team, and always evolve with the needs that the business uh, has at that point, and to configure the team according to that. And I
Yeah.
think that transition is tricky and needs to be managed properly, and is definitely very challenging.
Yeah, well, let's play with it a little bit. We'll take the first one. We'll see what kind of time we have to go with the next one. Um, Let me ask you this: working on the business. I mean, people talk about it. It's kind of cliche, perhaps, but why? Why does it matter to you? Tell me what the return is, either in the dollars it means in your pocket, the success your team experiences, or the peace of mind and lifestyle you get to live. Like why? Why does working on your business tell me what it's worth to you to solve that problem?
It's a great question, and I think about it a lot, and I think it goes down to the fact that when you're an entrepreneur, you need to manage your resources, and the most finite resource we all have is our time, and the day only has 24 hours. So what are you going to do with those 24 hours that can maximize your business, right? So if you have an operator mindset, you'll say, okay, uh, I'm going to work on my business for as many hours as I can, and you'll get a certain return out of that. But then if you want to scale that into a big company and not a small business, that's when you need to think like a business owner rather than a business operator. And
So if you want to go from solving those fires you're putting out are valuable ones. I'm asking the question because the change won't happen unless the pain of not fixing it is greater than the
100%.
opportunity that you were chasing at. So it's not like you're putting out little fires, meaning it's not like you're, oh yeah, I should take the trash out now. Oh, we should sweep this floor up. Though that happens too. I'm not talking about $10 an hour work. We're talking about saving a $200,000 account, right? Or I like some big deals. And that's
And
working in your
in
business.
exactly. And I think when and that's why I think as a business owner, you always need to be very um, focused on what the task at hand is, because sometimes there will be little things like taking out the trash. When you have a systems thinking, you say, okay, let's build a system so that the trash isn't piling up on the floor. Let's have somebody that does this. There's a schedule. Okay, there's a system, right? But
Hmm.
then there are things that, like, okay, there's a massive new account that needs to be closed, and I need to do this myself. I can't rely on somebody else because I'm the only one that can do this. So it's the back and forth, and that's why I'm telling you, it's you always have to be working in your business, but then being able to take a step out, but then going back in and then taking a step out, and it's a continual it's a continual loop where your business grows and you're going in and out and in and out,
Hmm.
and it's true. I mean, you can't just say like, all right, I'm not going to do anything, I'm just going to hire people, because first of all, you won't know what needs to be done. You won't know how to prioritize tasks. Second, your team won't respect you, because a leader leads by example. You need to walk the walk before you can tell other people how to walk the walk. And I'll tell you, how I did it at the beginning. I was the one carrying cases of liquor. I was the one doing tastings myself. I would do admin work in the morning and then go to the liquor store at 5, from 5 to 9, and do the tasting myself. And I did everything, and then I would do a payroll myself, and then I would do the logistics myself, and I would do every single part of it myself. But then after 6 months or a year of doing it yourself, you start developing patterns, and you say, okay, now that we have 500 stores, maybe we can set up a tasting schedule, and we'll have an agency that does it, and I don't need to do those myself. Now that we have all these shipments coming in, instead of me doing all the logistics of figuring out shipping and freight quotes, I'll do it with a logistics agency. And then you start scaling the things that are no value add to the business, but are so important that they need to be done. But once you develop a pattern and a system, you can assign somebody, whether it's an employee or a team or an agency or a freelancer or a contractor to do that while you keep on focusing on the growth, the strategic growth of the business.
Great. Then I'm going to be the stinker coach here because it sounds like you've got answers. Why aren't you doing it, Alejandro?
I'm trying, but it's tricky. It's like, listen, it's like this. Everybody wants to lose weight. Everybody wants to be in shape, right? If you want to lose weight, if you want to be in good shape, the formula is easy. It's so easy. You can go online and you can find the diet, you can find the workout regimen. What to do is easy. What to do, there's no question in what you need to do if you want to be in good shape. What's difficult is doing it.
Yeah. And
That's where it's tricky.
and it's often why you get a great personal trainer. And we're going to go back to, let's pretend I'm your personal trainer for a little bit because I'm going to push on you a bit. We talked about important things you could be fixing, working on doing, and that we have the day-to-day tasks and we're called to work in the business all the time. And it's immediate and it's urgent and it's valuable. There's real dollars attached to each one of those things. And you're like, I can get it done like this, and boom, we just saved that. We just gained that, right? So it's immediate gratification working in the business.
Yeah.
Working on the business is not immediate gratification. You have to have a longer vision of it, and the payout better be a lot bigger because it's more unsure to
Mm,
you, right? You know now you could do this now to get you could carry the case instead of hiring someone to do it, and congratulations, you just saved yourself $10 an hour, $15
exactly.
an hour, some pittance, right? But that's kind of how we think, and what we kind of have to do when there's four, five, six of us on the team. But you're
It's
in
such a
this
good
expansion
example.
mode, and you're going to hit 15 people across your team by the end of this year, and you've got to do this switch and say, do I want to have a $4 or $5 million business that I max out because I am tapped, I am full, my agenda is completed, right? I'm up from morning until evening and then back at it again each day. Do we want to be, and by the way, a $4 million business is great, that's nothing to sneeze at. Or do you have a vision of having a 10, 20, 30, $50 million business, or whatever the impact that you are hoping to have? uh, do you have a vision for that, and is it strong enough? So we can save a $20,000 account here. We could sign on a great big $200,000 thing, which we're just excited about. Or we could build a system that can do that over and over again, and a team that can do it over and over again, to where we're now playing with a $50 million business.
Mm.
Question is, do we remember the 50 million at the moment to say, am I working on the business or in it? And which one should I be doing?
That is, you just nailed it in the head. It's, I think that is the most important question that business owners need to always be asking themselves. And I'll tell you, I mean, when I think about it, is yes, I could fix a few fires now myself, and get that $10,000 account, that $200,000 account. That would be great, and it feels great, and it needs to be done now. But sometimes you need to take a step back and say, okay, long term thinking, no immediate gratification. What is the system that I'm going to build so that we can start generating the revenue that we need to get to the 20 to the 50 million?
Yeah. And
And
when you have a team of 30 plus, you're going to be able to step out of the working in the business easier because you'll have a big enough team to manage all the pieces. In the here and now, let's cheat. Okay, so let's cheat and let's put on our calendar strategy time. Let's just do it. Let's do the long-term work strategy time. And here's my cheat formula that I've seen work for so many businesses is every quarter I want you and your leadership team to take a day or two away from the work. So it's like you're taking vacation, except you're going to work harder than you ever work. Okay. And you're going to dive in and you're going to do exactly the kinds of things you talked about. A SWOT analysis. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What opportunities are out there? What threats are there? And it's not because every quarter there's going to be massive changes, But every quarter, your team, along with you, get better at thinking strategically instead of just operationally. So they have a chance to pull out of the weeds and think a little broader. Then you're going to want to have a monthly check-in to say, are we following the strategic plan we put in place? Now, that strategic thinking isn't just to do a SWOT. You've got to land on a strategic question that you need to answer, then priority that's built, and a team that's built to go and build the business you need 6 months and a year from now, instead of just run the business you have today. And so that team isn't new employees, and it's not people who get let off their day job. They're still doing their day job for you. They're just putting an hour in here, putting 2 hours in there, right? Every week a little bit. And they'll probably have those little teams. We'll probably have a meeting every week or two, a little stand up. How are we at on the priority? Here's the Gantt chart, project managed to ensure that by the end of this, we now own, let's say, maybe the priorities, we've got to figure out how to get 100 top snack brands into these places. How are we need a game plan how we're going to win all those instead of just onesie twosie out there. Let's figure out our game plan. Let's put it together. Let's march through this and then have what our measure of success will be at the end. But
Mm.
who's going to do what by when just is really important. And now you've built a little, a Delta Force team that's going to go do a little special ops to go get something done working on the business. And that way you can keep working in the business, which you have to at this stage.
Yeah.
You can't get all the way out of it unless you've got extra cash just rolling. Then you could find the right team members and they could go ahead and manage and build all of this out quickly for you. But if you don't have that and you need to live off your own cash flow, you've got to work in the business a little bit. And that's just all there is to it. In fact, probably 80% of your collective time is going to be working in the business. So your individual at this stage where you've got less than 10 people really working it, I would say you're spending 80% of your time working in the business. Maybe,
Absolutely. and
right?
and looking at upside down, I think if you're able to spend 20% of your time with high level strategic thinking, I
That's
think
awesome.
you can get so much done with
Yep.
that. Yeah.
And just block the time in the calendar and put it as your most important client. So I had blocked time in my calendar early in my career. This was before I was an entrepreneur. Well, before I was officially out of working for the man. And my most important calendar item was my MKS consulting, which happened every Wednesday morning from 8 to noon. And then
Hmm.
I would have lunch. Well, MKS were the initials of my three oldest girls. And what it was is I'd blocked out time to be a father in the middle of the week. So I could be with them while they were little, right? And I didn't have to be away from them. And
That's
so,
the most important account you can have, MKS.
and everybody knew this was a top client. Nobody knew it was my kids.
Mm, I love
My
it.
boss knew it was my kids. I told him if I didn't get to do that, I'd quit.
And they were all asking, "Man, how can we get in on the MKS account?"
How do we get on this
David's hogging
MKS thing? I
all
was
the
like, this is
work
a
there.
top client. Like, we don't do this. Yeah, one year I decided instead of negotiating, I'd always negotiate about a 25 or 30% raise because, when you know how to add value, you can do that, right? I could show the value. I thought as an entrepreneur, even when I was in businesses, but I could always demand that. And that year I said, no, I just want a 10% raise. I want 10% of my time back. So I
Mm,
gave that. Now, what if we took 20%, 20% for our business, or even just 10% for our business and 10% for our family? And we put top client, right? Number one client service is how we think about it, where we could never let that fall. That's our biggest account. I can never
mm.
miss that meeting. And that can be a start for you as you think about working on your business.
That what you just said is so important, and I think it goes back to priorities.
Hmm.
When you think about your business, do you prioritize the day to day, or do you prioritize the long term, big vision, strategic thinking, and what do you need to do to get there? When you think about your own life, do you need are you going to prioritize the time with your girls, the time with your wife, and it's about how you prioritize. So I think it's incredibly important to stop and think about it, And I'll tell you, a lot of people, they don't even think about their priorities.
Yep.
They just wake up and they do whatever the first most pressing thing that comes in their inboxes. That's what they deal with, and then they finish the day and they're exhausted, and their wife feels that they don't see them enough, and their kids, barely know their name, and it's a bad cycle. So I think it's about being mindful about what's important to you for your business personally. And I'm the same way. I'm a family man myself. And I agree. I don't have it scheduled in the calendar. I think it's a good idea, but I will. But I have a certain time that I always dedicate in the day. I always dedicate to my little girl. And nobody can move that.
Yeah.
And I have the same thing with my wife. And just making sure that those are the cornerstones of your week where everything happens around that. I think it's important because it's important to prioritize things that will help you be a better person and a better business owner in the end. Because when you're stressed out, when you're unfocused, when you're having a bad time, it's very difficult to be optimistic about the future and think about the long-term health of your business.
Yeah. And your team's not getting the support they need. They're not getting the direction they need. And so they're less efficient and they're more frustrated just because you're so overloaded.
Yeah.
So that's probably as much time as we have today. We can't dive into the second question, though it was a valuable one. Hopefully there was some value there. And Alejandro, thank you so much. All right. How would people get in touch with you if they wanted to contact you?
Well, you can always send me an email. My email is alex@koi.global, koi.global. You can find us online. Our website is drinkcandela.com. That is the website of my rum brand. And from there, we can you'll find the contact information for whatever it is that you need. But I can't thank you enough, David, for this time. I greatly enjoyed the conversation. I think as a business owner, it's so important to think about these big questions. So I really appreciate you helping me pause and think strategically in the
Well,
middle of the week.
thanks for bringing a real question, Alejandro. That wraps up this episode of the Seven Figure Business Owner podcast, or Seven Figure Business Owner. See, why can I not remember my own podcast name today? It's a journey. That's what it is. Welcome. And that ends it. Thank you again for participating. If you found value in this, share it with others. Share it with other seven figure business owners so they too can be part of this community of seven figure business owners that are supporting each other as we try to make a difference, grow something worthwhile, have a little impact, and have a great team. So until next time.